Hello, I'm Doreen Ellen Beldotan in Tzfat. I think the format of speaking mostly in English and including Hebrew with explanations probably works best to reach the largest audience of the people that I want to reach. And so I think that we're going to do that the videos will not be either exclusively in English, and I may do some exclusively Hebrew videos, but I'll include Hebrew in my English videos too, because it reaches people. Second thing I want to say is I don't care enough to go about the business of fixing it, changing it, how to adjust for it, I don't know what. There's some kind of an uglifying lens on this new camera that I have. No, I have not aged 20 years in the last 3 months. There's something wrong with the camera, and we'll all just have to live with it. Or not, I have to live with it. What I want to talk about today, please God, this evening, this night, is proof positive that rabbinic interpretation is incorrect. A few months ago, a very professional and very disturbing piece of investigative journalism was published for the mako, I think it's called mako, I don't watch television, a news outlet. I'll link to it in the description below. Those of you who can read Hebrew, Ahlan wa sahlan. And those of you who can't, if you're interested, can put it in Google Lens or something like that. It's very, very well done, very thoughtful, very thorough, and extremely disturbing. I have spoken about the fact that Tzfat is near Meron, where a terribly idolatrous ceremony is held every year with fire, and it's a graveyard there, and I've spoken about this being an absolute horror, and I have been pleading with the powers that be here in Tzfat for decades to put an end to that, and I warned them a number of times that Hashem was going to wipe out all of the incentives to continue carrying out that ceremony. Which is completely forbidden, and which people seem to have some kind of an obsession with carrying it out. As a result of that, a number of very odd people have settled around the Meron area, and here in Tzfat too there are problems. This area has come to be known as the Bermuda Triangle of Israel. The Meron, Tzfat, and the environs area. People disappear from this area, including children. The article, the investigative journalistic piece, which is very important, was carried out because for months there's a beautiful little girl who disappeared at the age of 9. Her name is Heimanut Kasau. And there are simply no traces of her. She just disappeared. And this has happened before. A beautiful young man disappeared from Meron. Heimanut disappeared from the absorption center here in Tzfat. There's obviously something going on that is more ugly than what Jews want to admit is going on. And the article speaks about the fact that criminals of all kinds, including pedophiles, find it, what's the word? They opportunistically hide within the Haredi community. They buy themselves a kippah and a penguin suit, and they grow their beards, and they hide out among the Orthodox community. They do that for a few reasons, because they look different, so it's easier for them to disappear. But also because there is a culture of brushing things under the rug, sweeping things under the rug, not dealing with things, not talking with things, about things. Pedophiles find that Haredi children, ultra-Orthodox children, make very easy targets because they are the least likely to report what happened to them. And if they do report what happened to them to their parents are the most likely not to report it to the police. And the reasons that the rabbis give for not talking about it is so that they don't ruin their chances of making a good marriage. Right? So the effect of which is you have these good marriages of families, both of whom don't talk about things that might have happened and don't protect their children. That's what's called making a good marriage. Everybody keeps everything quiet. Other criminals also find it advantageous to their purposes to hide out among the ultra-Orthodox community. There was a case here in Tzfat. There is a yeshiva for learning the Kabbalah, a famous one, devoted specifically to that, and the head of that yeshiva was jailed for indecent acts among some of the women of his students. To my understanding, he did not bugger children. Yet and still, the head of the yeshiva of the Kabbalah here in Tzfat was abusing his position to abuse women. Had I, excuse me, had I criticized his interpretations the day before this information became public, of course the reaction to me would have been, what do you think you are? He's the head of the yeshiva. Like, what do you know? What right have you got to question this important genius of a rabbi? was also another case some years back that also disturbed me deeply and caused real shock waves to go through Israel. There was also a very famous rabbi who was considered a big genius, highly respected. He went to Poland to search for his roots in Poland, and he went looking for his grandparents. He found the grave of his maternal grandmother in a Catholic cemetery in Poland. He was very shocked, and he went to the authorities. He said, "There's some kind of a mistake. This is my maternal grandmother. She shouldn't be buried in a Catholic cemetery." And the authorities went through their records, and they said, well, there's no mistake. She was an upstanding member of her parish. And so we buried her like the good Catholic that she was, in a Catholic cemetery. And he says, no, there must be no, and there was no mistake. So here was this rabbi who was considered like a big genius, and turns out to goy gamul. There was no conversion, there was no anything. He simply isn't Jewish. There's a very serious problem with that, because one of the things that he was signed on were divorce certificates. Not good. I don't know how they worked out what ensued with the mamzerut. I don't know how that was dealt with. That was one story. There was another story here in Israel of a missionary who was hiding out as a Haredi sofer, a rabbi, I don't know what it was. And also for years before he was detected, and he was using his children to missionize in ultra-Orthodox schools. It's illegal here in Israel to proselytize to minors. So he used his children to proselytize for him. Eventually he was caught on to. But this went on for, I don't know, years, like years. There was another case of a father and son missionaries that were operating, I think this was in Australia. They were operating under cover of the Haredi community, and it also took a long time until they became so outrageous that they were finally detected for the missionaries that they were. So, we have cases in which non-Jews are able to rise in the ranks of learning Talmud to the point of being considered big rabbis and big geniuses. Now understand that in a lot of these yeshivas, they almost don't learn Chumash. They almost don't learn real Torah. They're learning Talmud for the most part. So if someone's inability to understand Torah can be easily masked by their ability to understand Talmud. So you have non-Jews, you have missionary non-Jews, you have criminal Jews, and you have pedophile Jews, all of whom find it expedient, that's the word I think I was looking for before, to hide in the Haredi community, and they go undetected. This, to my mind, is proof positive that rabbinical interpretation is incorrect. The fact that people who are basically dishonest can move within Haredi circles, learn in Haredi yeshivas, attain positions of respect for their understanding, is proof positive that they're not learning real Torah. Because all of these people are characterized by pretending to be moral, but not being moral. These are predators. This rabbi whose grandmother was in the Jewish community, was a Catholic who somehow got into the Jewish community. This is a predatorial act. The missionaries who hide out are predators. The criminals that hide out are predators. The pedophiles, for sure. All of these people have in common that their thought processes are the thought processes of predators, twisted people. And they're able to understand Talmud. Not only are they able to understand Talmud, they're able to understand Talmud well and come to be considered brilliant in Talmudic thought. They're not able to understand Chumash and Nach. They're not able to understand our real Torah very well, but that's entirely masked by the fact that they're able to understand Talmud particularly well. Which means that the thinking of the Talmud is essentially twisted, is essentially predatory, is even essentially perverted. Because those are the people who, when they come in to the Haredi community, are able to master and sometimes even excel at. One cannot learn true Torah unless they are able to get through all of the masks that Hashem puts on the inner holiness of Torah, because they are so morally straight that their vision is like a straight arrow. It's like a laser. There's no zigzag on it. So they're able to see it. If they're not able to do that because their hearts are not straight, then they get lost in all kinds of narratives and thinking that a big snake tempted Chava and she was so foolish as to go along with it, and then she gave Adam, So the people who read Tanakh that way, who can't get into the truth of what's going on, are very often considered to be Talmudic geniuses, or at least on par with the learning standard, which is proof positive that what the rabbis are learning is not real Torah, that it was devised by people with twisted thinking, for people with twisted thinking, and it in fact encourages psychopathy. Thank you for listening.